Marcel, welcome to the Leanpub launch video for how to run an esports video game tournament. I'm really excited to talk to you about this book. And I was wondering if you could start off a little bit talking about yourself, where you're from, what you do, and what your book is about and who it's for.
Yeah. So first, thank you for having me. My name is Marcel. I go by Cello online, Marcel Cello Torres. Um, I'm born and raised in New York City. I was there back when nobody wanted to live there in the 80s and 90s when it was a bad place to be. Um, but that was the hand I was dealt, so I just kind of ran with it. Um, Now, currently, I'm a web developer. I do all types of programming. I've been a geek my entire life. Like you could throw me in a junkyard, I'll build a computer from scratch. I've always been fascinated by technology, which kind of like led me to the world of video games, where my dad like bought me an NES when I was younger, the original Nintendo, and then he used to take me to arcades and everything like that. And that kind of what led me to esports, where as I was playing with friends and family and in the arcade hooligans and all that stuff, you get there's this thing of competition with all video games. Like most video games are very competitive. Um, but nobody was really doing a tournament aside from like going to an arcade, putting your quarter up and battling against whoever just happened to be there. There was no real tournaments. So I kind of wanted to bring that to the neighborhood. So back in all the way back in 1999, we started the first one with Super Smash Brothers on N64, and then from there it kind of grew and grew and grew, and now 2026, I can say I'm still doing it all these years later.
That's really awesome. And so I imagine that the first one that you did in 1999 wasn't like, remote. It must have been like in person, right?
Yes, so in 99 in 99, New York was still kind of still broken down. Like a lot of the money was moving into New York, but it wasn't like it didn't completely take over at that point. So my grandmother, she had in the seven. This I gotta predate this a little bit. In the 70s, she led some of the earliest rent strikes in New York City, where she helped to take away the building from a slumlord that was neglecting everything. Did it all properly, went to the courts, put money in escrow, like you have to fix these buildings, or if not, this is a problem. So she took them to court, won, and got the building. So she came from Puerto Rico. She came from nothing, like literally living like in a cardboard mud house type of thing and everything. And when she came to New York, she came with all her kids, 13 altogether. um,
Wow.
so it was very rough for her. Now, beside our building, there was a an old lot where a lot of drug dealers used to sell drugs out of and everything like that. And so there was needles, there was drugs, bottles, all types of things. So my grandma was like, no, no, let's clean this up. So she decided to take charge of the garden, clean up the or chief take charge of a lot, excuse me, clean it up and turn it into a garden. So now that's the 70s going into the 80s. Fast forward to 99, it's a full-fledged garden, community garden. She's got it up and running. So we used to have like parties in there, people from the neighborhood where, just go hang out there, say like little greenery to get away from all the chaos of New York City. So what we did, there was an outdoor house, like just little roof, couple of pillars, and we ran an extension cord from our building all the way next door. Incredible. It was probably like, I don't know, 50, 100 feet like extension cord, so we can power our TV and N64. So me and some of the friends and some of our family members, we decided to do a tournament there inside the garden. So it did start inside, but not really. The first one was
Nice.
held outdoors, but we just like had the covering and everything. I don't recommend doing tournaments outdoors. I actually talk about that in the book, but if you're gonna do it, take the precautions.
That's a really awesome. I mean, every part of that is just such an awesome story. That's really great. And so obviously now you've that you and the technology and what people are familiar with has progressed a long way from 1999 to 2020, 2026. And you talk about all these things. I mean, they're great. It's such a well-written book. It's such a fun to read, but it's also very practical along the way with practical examples and stuff like that. So if I'm, let's say I'm, 22 years old, I'm in college or something like that, and I've got a video game that I love playing, and I want to set up my own, say like 64 person like winner take all kind of
Yeah.
tournament. What's the hardest thing that I would have to confront? Would it be like actually finding people to compete? Would it be like setting up the environment, making
So
sure that they all can get connected? Is it
yeah.
timing?
It's a combination of those things. So you can run a tournament for any video game, right? And when you do it, it's called an esport, but realistically, it's a video game. You're running a
Yeah.
tournament for a video game. They just wanted to give it this moniker. That's fine. I'll run with that. Um, you want to make sure the game is popular, right? You can do a Madden, sports game, Call of Duty, a FPS type of thing. Any fighting game you get people. But if you want to do something odd, there is a niche for that. But you're gonna have to kind of find those players. But if you're a 22-year-old, you're in college and everything, like that, one, you have access to all types of centers around the campus. There's
Right.
a couple of guys that I know that they use their I forget what the room is called, but it's like a communal room for students and everything, and they host tournaments out of there. So you have your location down, and most of the time the people who are playing have their own systems, so they'll lend you the systems. Like when we were doing the tournaments back in the garden, and when we eventually moved into a basement, it was I didn't have multiple systems myself, so I was borrowing them from friends and family that were coming to the tournament. So at one point we like had 10 systems, old school, because we had the old TVs with the VHS players with the Game Cubes and all that stuff. So we were lugging a lot of hardware. So you'll have friends that would do that. If you want to do a 64 person as your first one, I don't recommend that
Okay.
because you've never ran through a tournament, and a tournament is crazy time consuming if you don't know your game. That's probably the most important to your question is you got to know your game. A lot of people want to do tournaments for games where they just kind of casually play them. It's a bad idea. You should know that game inside and out. Play that game a lot. You should have more than 2 to 500 hours on that game of your own play experience because you'll know what's going to take long in the game, what's going to go fast, what rule options are popular versus ones that are disliked. Perfect example, and I kind of talk about it in the book a little bit. Smash Brothers. When Smash Brothers started out, you would play with a lot of people play with 10 stocks, 10 lives for a match, and they would play with their friends, items, because Smash Brothers is a party game. So you got bats and shells and all this stuff flying around. But when you're playing it on a high level tournament thing, nowadays nobody does 10 stocks. You do 3 stocks, 7 minute time limit, no items, and certain stages you can't even play on because they're unfair to other characters. So you got to make sure you know your game more than anything. And instead of doing a 64, I always recommend start out with an 8 person tournament. Scale up, start with 8 people because you can get 8 people, right? You can get a straggler. Like I've had stragglers walk by a big event that we've had that maybe one or two people didn't show up, and they were like, "What is this?" Now tell them. I remember specifically there was one we held right before COVID. It was a Street Fighter 2 tournament, and we were holding it in a bar. And a guy just happened to be walking or coming into the bar to drink and everything. And he was like, "What's going on here?" I was like, "We're doing a tournament. We actually have, we're waiting on one more player. Player wound up not showing up." So he was like, "Can I enter?" I was like, "Absolutely." So he came just from that. So we were doing 32 people, but we filled that last spot. So with 8 people, you'll absolutely fill those spaces. You'll get your friends or whoever happens to be there to play the game. So start with 8 and go up.
That sounds like some really great advice. And it's really interesting. I mean, I think it can seem like sort of very intimidating at first. Oh, do I have to get a degree in kind of doing sports, esports tournament
Yeah,
management or something like that? And what you're saying is it's hard work. You really have to know what you're doing, but it's also fun. And there's like all kinds of variables that come into it, including people. I mean, it's for fun, right? People want to have a
yeah.
good time. Um, and so I definitely recommend this book for anyone interested in getting started to doing this. And so like it goes from the fun to the, along with the serious along the way. The last question I wanted to ask you before I let you go is, who's your go-to character in Smash Bros. And has it changed since 1999?
It has always changed. I started with Pikachu in the N64 version. Him and Kirby were very powerful, but I thought Pikachu was probably the best one. Started with Pikachu, then when we jumped to Melee, I started playing as Sheik. Um, but I still have a soft spot for Pikachu, so every time a new Smash iteration comes out, I always play with Pikachu. Um, but Sheik and then Wolf and all that. And then now in the current version of Smash Bros. Ultimate, I play Terry because I'm big into Street Fighter. And Terry plays like there's Street Fighter characters in Smash Brothers nowadays, which is still weird to say all these years later. But I played Terry. He comes from another fighting game that is similar to Street Fighter from this fighting game called Fatal Fury. But
So actually, I do have one last question for you that just occurred
yeah,
to me. So, as a Smash Bros. Expert, so I hadn't played when basically Leanpub used to be bootstrapped. We had a kind of consulting business and stuff like that. So we had a lot more employees, and we had an office, and we had a special room with a big TV in it, and a Wii and 8 controllers. And we had a little button that we'd hit on the a red button that we'd hit on the wall when it was a bow, and it was like time to play Smash Bros. And
Nice.
I had not played video games when this like for like 15 years or something like that. And I never played Zelda, by the way. That'll become relevant in a second. So so there I am, like old compared to the
Yeah,
software devs that I'm playing with and stuff. And it's this huge screen, but it's like where every my character's like this big, and like basically I didn't know anything about it, and I kept just running off the platform and dying because I didn't know what was going on.
yeah.
So in the end, I settled on Ganondorf as my character because he's big and heavy and slow, and he
Mhm.
can kind of take a punch. So my that leads to my question, which is when I go to play Smash Bros online and someone sees Ganondorf, what do they think about me?
It's gonna go one of two ways because there are Ganondorfs out there who are incredibly good, where they will demolish a lot of players. And then there's other people who just kind of like messing around. They're like new to the game. They're just like, oh, I want to play with this guy too. He looks like fun, and they wind up getting eaten up by everybody else.
Okay, okay. Well, that's that's good to know. Okay, well, Marcel, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me and to talk to all of us in recording this video today. The book is How to Run an Esports Video Game Tournament. It's really great, as you could tell from Marcel's story. I mean, there's stories in it, but there's lots of hard-won advice as well. So if you're interested in getting into this, I highly recommend the book. So thanks very much.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.